What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Having Said That show. I am your host, Jay, joined today by two of the top experts in the Indian F1 field. Give it up for Soumil and Sundaram. What's up, guys? Also, you guys may have noticed that Aditya is not here today. He is filming his music video for the song Remind Me, his first single on the album coming out soon. If you guys want to catch it, here's the link. Now, having said that, let's jump into the episode. What's up, guys?
It's a slick transition, huh? It's a slick transition.
It was a slick transition. Thank you. We've been podcasting, you know how it is. So what's up, man? You guys have been doing some interesting stuff, man. How's it going? How's it been?
Wait, how do we describe it? Because it's been so much of chaos, right? Normally in an F1 winter, you think, okay, I'm finally going to sleep. But there's so much of racing in the Indian side of things. There's so much of strategizing and finally so much of excitement because a new year is starting. And we finally get to reach out to our audience even better. I mean, we did one crazy event in January in 10 days' time. And we got Kush Many in front of 120 odd people in Bangalore.
That was
140. 140 odd people in Bangalore. And
crazy,
even though it drained the life out of us, Sundaram and I and also Kunal and the entire team, we barely slept at all. But bloody hell, man. It's nothing quite like chatting Formula 1 with people in real life. Kind of like what we're going to be doing today.
Of course. Do you want to spend some time talking about the Indian scene? Because I've been seeing you guys do some really cool stuff in stadiums with dirt bikes, MotoGP. Just take me through that, bro. What are you guys doing?
Okay, so it's kind of fun, right? You must have known Formula E, the single-seated electric championship. Hyderabad E-Prix, dead, unfortunately. We don't talk about that. But let's talk about MotoGP, right? Because finally, so a lot of people think that we don't have an Indian Grand Prix, but we do. And it's on bikes. And we all know bikes are better. They are. They just are.
That's his controversial opinion right there.
I've seen some cool bike racing. Not gonna lie, when I saw your IG, I tapped onto their story and I saw some really cool racing, bro. So
that must have been Supercross.
Oh, was it Supercross?
Yeah, so in stadiums, the Indian Supercross Racing League are literally bringing in 5,000 tons of dirt and making like a crazy dirt biking arena where, not 20, I think 40 of the best international riders in the world and so many Indian ones as well are literally going crazy. Now, these kind of people are the ones that are disowned by their family because you don't go dirt biking instead of focusing on business or administration. And kind of like, imagine your pitch to your family. Mom or dad, I'm going to go break my bones and ride as fast as I can on dirt because I'm a crazy idiot and that's what I like to do.
Hell yeah, dude.
Imagine the family dinner table conversation at Diwali or Christmas or whatever it might be. Like,
I think out of all the favorite events that you guys have been doing, do you guys have one in mind, like in particular?
Supercross for me. I can't
Had to be Supercross.
Supercross, dude.
Super hyped
And the kind of action, it's like Big Boss, but on racing bikes. And they fight. Because, again, last time we were here, we discussed that Formula 1 drivers don't have any personality.
Yeah.
In Supercross, they will fight. They will punch each other.
I saw the video.
It's crazy, right?
So two drivers were literally punching each
Riders,
other because
force of habit.
two riders were literally punching because one I think tagged the other one and they crashed.
And he pulled his bike down. There's some past controvery as well.
Sorry, this was all mid-race.
Mid-race.
Oh. Damn.
It sounds like the hockey of motorsport.
It's
like where you guys can just go at each other if you guys fuck up. You know what I mean?
Insane. And you have real characters, real stories, and it's bike racing, and people fall down, and it's fast, and people jump. Why would you not watch it? And the races are only 10 minutes long, so you can just have your meal in the meantime and be like, yeah, why not? So that's been crazy. And the Supercross League, we got 10,000 people in Ahmedabad in a stadium.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Wow.
That
We
is
never
wild.
get anything for any racing. I mean, we've been doing so many national level racing championships, Sundaram and myself.
Yeah, so
it's
tell
hard
me-
to bring a crowd there.
Tell me, what is the future in Indian racing? Like, what is the route that like young drivers are gonna have to go through to get to like an elite level of racing? What do you think is there for them? Do you think there is an opportunity
In terms of Formula 1?
in terms of any high level racing? Like, what do you think is the future of Indian motorsport?
Track racing, so there's three options, right? There's track racing, there's dirt racing, and of course you can do lots of other stuff as well. Again, my mind fails me at this moment in time. But let's say track and dirt. In track, you've got cars and bikes. In cars, if you want to become a top level racer, be prepared. You need at least a 5 BHK flat that you're going to be selling in South Mumbai. You need to be a billionaire to be a racing driver. Otherwise, you're just not going to be making it. There's too much money involved. But if you are one, and if you do get good sponsorship, kind of like Kush Many, Jehan Daruwala and the likes, you've got to work hard, dude. It's at the end of the day, it's all about opening up those links and performing. It's like money paves your way through. There's no other way to put it that way. And when money paves your way through, you've got to be there to be the best at that point of
for
time.
sure.
So that's the way it is for cars. And for bikes, similar in a way. No matter how good you are, you just need that
There is
jump.
that barrier to entry, right?
Dude, so suppose in India, right? Suppose you're doing any sort of bike racing, maximum a season will cost you, even though you do like the biggest of bikes and something like that, 20, 30 odd lakhs. Suddenly, if you want to go testing in Malaysia, you've got to stay in Malaysia. You've got to fly to Malaysia. You've got to eat there, live there, buy parts there, buy a coach there, buy your suit over there. That costs you a lot. Triple, quadruple almost.
And I want to ask you guys, what about you guys? What is next for you? Do you guys want to get into F1? Because I feel like you guys are doing everything you can in India. What is the future?
Do we want to get into F1? I think that's a very interesting question. But I think 2023 was our best year.
For sure.
By far.
Yeah.
Because we had not kind of predicted that sort of stuff that we did last year, we would end up doing that. We stumbled upon doing screenings and we absolutely loved it. The whole format of our screenings was something that happened at the moment, and that's something that stayed throughout because the audience engagement is something we felt is something we don't see anywhere else. So we've done a lot of screenings. A lot of people, one of our best screenings was probably the Australian Grand Prix in March last year. Even the Kush event, I think we had the Q&A section for a good half an hour, 45 minutes. People having that platform to speak with the driver up close, ask them about anything, and them being that patient and answering that.
You guys have had some insane guests on your podcast. You want to talk about that as well? Let's talk about Helmut Marko, man. That was crazy. How did you guys get him?
All I can say in 2 words is not 2 words actually, but one sentence. Again, too much of the hard seltzer early in the morning. But Kunal Shah is a legend. So he's not the third co-host. He is Mr. Inside Line F1 podcast. He started this whole thing.
Shout out to Kunal.
Yeah, he's
Shout out
such a
Kunal,
legend,
man,
dude.
for
Seriously.
sure.
And he spent his time in the paddock, again, former marketing head of a beautiful and memorable team called the Force India Formula One team, if anyone remembers.
Force India.
Wow.
Force India, of course.
Shout out Force India, man.
And fun story, Force India had a driver academy where we had Jehan Daruwala and Arjun Maini being a part of that. And driver academy heads often tend to bond with each other, which is what happened with Helmut and Kunal eventually. That relationship flourished. We got him. We got Ravi Shastri on the show. That was the craziest thing of all.
Yeah, that was damn.
Was that the most fun you've had on a guest episode?
I have.
Yeah.
So the funny thing with it, right? So Ravi Shastri, so random Friday afternoon, right? I'm sitting and chilling. We know Ravi's going to come in there. So the PA at Formula One said, okay, Ravi will be here any minute now. So I was sitting there chilling. And of course, in my room, it's totally quiet. So there's nothing to do. I can't even listen to music before an interview. I like to be in the zone. And I'm sitting quietly for 15 minutes. My eyes are almost shutting down. And then suddenly, as soon as I close my eyes, hello, good morning. What the hell? It's Ravi Shastri. And he's like, hi. How are you guys?
He also has that unique Soumil voice, right? You guys were just like, hi. Soumil's like, how are you? Hi.
Bro, you get goosebumps. You get shaken because when Ravi Shastri says good morning to you, you're like,
That's typical Ravi.
Yes.
That's typical Ravi.
Yeah, that's classic Ravi, bro.
You guys had an in-person
No.
interview with him.
It was an online.
no, that was online. So he was at the Belgian Grand Prix at that time.
Okay.
So Formula One reached out to us saying, hey, we have Ravi Shastri. No, we have a famous Indian cricketer and a former World Cup winner called Ravi Shastri. Do you think you'd be interested to interview him, being the #1 Indian
Play
podcast?
it cool and be like, we could chat to him a little bit. I don't know
I
about
can check
that.
my schedule.
That's exactly what we did. And Ravi Shastri was incredible because, you kind of wonder with these sort of guests, what are you going to speak to them about? Because you don't know how big of Formula One fans they are. Turns out Ravi told us that he was a big Martin Brundle fan. Wow. Ravi told us that Mika Häkkinen is his drinking buddy.
Yes.
And
that was insane.
And only one person in the world can outdrink Ravi Shastri. Mika Häkkinen. And all that other crazy stuff as well.
But that must be sick to have like F1 literally contact you and be like, yo, can we put this guy on your platform?
Kunal Shah is a legend.
That is cool, man.
That's all I can say.
But speaking of F1, guys, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the off season.
Spicy stuff.
It's been extremely
address
spicy.
the big red elephant in the room. Should I say?
Yeah, let's go for it, Soumil. You want to take it away? What is happening with the Lewis Hamilton move? What is your perception of it? What did you think when you first heard that?
What do you think about it? I'll come to it in a second.
See, for being a Formula One fan of a particular driver, that's not. I mean, I don't really particularly support Lewis Hamilton, but then that day it got me really, really excited.
Yeah.
And I think it made a lot of people excited because of the two entities that we're talking about here. That's Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari.
Yeah.
Because never in the history of the sport has it happened that the most successful driver in terms of championships has moved to the most successful team. That's never happened.
Sure.
Schumacher, when he joined Ferrari, he was still
Yeah.
a much younger driver and he wasn't the most successful, but together they became the most successful partnership. But I am very, very excited to see what's going to happen next year. Very obvious reasons why Hamilton's moving there,
Sure.
but why Ferrari is going with Hamilton is also because they need that championship mentality within the
For
team.
sure, bro.
Because they've been struggling for the last 15 years. They've had a couple of champions in Alonso and Vettel, but ultimately it's a thing about people. Formula One is also about people. So
You know, and I think Lewis brings that culture to
Yes.
the team.
Yeah.
You know, he's not just a driver. He's bringing the culture of like winning 7 like world titles. You know how closely he works with his mechanics. I think he's there as like a culture builder to kind of make it a team again. You know, like the Ferrari F1 team has just been all over the place.
Yeah.
I think
No, that's
they've given
exactly
him,
what
like,
happened.
An extra role as well.
that's what happened even when Michael Schumacher moved to Ferrari in 96?
Six.
96, because
96.
that time Ferrari they had not won a championship for the last 13 years. They were in complete disarray. There was a lot of toxicity happening within the team. So they really needed a driver of that caliber, and they
Yeah.
got a top level. They got Ross Brawn. He was the sporting director.
Ross Brawn, Jean Todt,
Jean Todt. So they brought in.
everyone. Yeah.
They got in that team that was able to run the whole operation, get everyone together, get everyone in sync, and then you become a world champion. So that's probably the thought process here as well, that we
Sure.
get Hamilton. There's nothing wrong with Carlos Sainz, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They've dumped him, unfortunately.
guy.
There's nothing wrong with the guy, but then
Gotta feel for him, man. You know.
You said, right, he's the child that they don't care for on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Dude, it's so funny, right? If you're Ferrari and you're a parent, right? You've got 2 kids. You've got
Yeah, you're right.
It's a great analogy, actually. It's a
you've
great
got 2
analogy.
kids. You've got the clumsy one who you love
Yeah.
because they're clumsy. You know, the first one. Not the first one, actually, the younger one. Because you're like, oh my God, whatever you do, you'll always be the princess or the prince in my eyes. And you've got
Jay
Carlos Sainz, the hardworking one, who, by the way, never gets loved as much, does everything right. Will get 90% in their boards, will probably go working out in the evening, will have good friends, will eat right, will sleep right. But the parents just don't love him. It's just crazy. And they picked the clumsy one. They had a choice.
Too real,
mind
buddy.
you, Carlos Sainz was the only driver who won a race apart
Yes.
from both. their
Yes.
drivers.
Yes, bro. That's the thing. Like, you gotta wonder what is going through Ferrari's mind. Cause see, Charles has always he beat him in the standings eventually. Leclerc
Standings,
beat
yes.
him in the standings
Standings,
overall. You gotta wonder what position Charles is in right now, because he was clearly the number 1 driver for a really long time. Here comes 7-8-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. Where does he fit now? Like, are they gonna compete against each other?
Yes.
Are they gonna have? You think they're gonna like compete against each other? Because Ferrari has like a very harsh like no competition policy.
Yeah, that's flexible. Again, egos take over at a point. And again, it helps that they have a really shrewd manager in the form of Fred Vasseur.
Yeah.
If there's one person who can control big drivers with big egos, it's him. He's raced with Hamilton before. So he kind of becomes like, it's not like you're controlling a bigger ego, because in front of, to Lewis Hamilton, Fred Vasseur is still the boss who gave him the jump in
Sure,
GP2.
sure,
So there's that level of respect and commandment that even Leclerc shows towards Fred Vasseur.
Vessel's
This is
worked
the
with the
same
both
situation.
of them.
Yeah,
Vessel's
yeah,
worked
yeah,
with the
yeah.
both of
So
them.
they both
That
look
works
up
in
to
his-
him. There's a degree of respect, and that really should help out with Ferrari.
Yeah.
But if you're Charles Leclerc, to the world, obviously you've got to say, oh, it's great to have Lewis, again, bar to raise for myself. But if you're not shitting your pants down the inside, and if you're not taking it as a challenge,
You got to do.
you
that.
probably, it's a good time for you to leave. And knowing him, I think he will be,
A good
knowing him
time
from the
for-
outside, of course, that it'll be,
Sorry, I had
Go
one
ahead.
thing over here. So this decision is obviously a commercially like a great decision
Yeah.
for Ferrari and as well as the Lewis Hamilton.
can you imagine the ads? Can you
Yeah,
imagine the
like-
campaigns? Hamilton in a suit in front of a Ferrari.
Yeah, and they said that they already underpaid Lewis Hamilton. They've definitely underpaid him. Like, and he's been paid 100 million.
I
by
think
the
it's
way.
like a culture move, bro. He's
Yeah.
at the end of his
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to sit through, I think, a rebuild at Mercedes.
Yeah.
They obviously weren't showing him, because he signed a long-term contract, guys. That's why this was so surprising. So he signed a long-term contract, and obviously in that contract they had to have a stipulation where it's like, if you don't see what you want to see, you can jump ship. And he's like, I'm getting old. Ferrari is like the most prestigious team in Formula One. I'm just gonna go there.
Yeah.
You know.
So you know, it's interesting. I met Kunal was in town a few months ago.
He
now.
was, yes.
Yeah, I met him. So we were just chatting about F1 and all, and he said that there's some story came up, and he was like, whenever you ask a kid to draw a car, it's always a red.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, that's also like
Yeah.
Ferrari. You can't say no.
Yeah.
I mean,
You never can.
Well, the implication is that
Ferrari fan.
you're not gonna say no to Ferrari.
Even if you're not a Ferrari fan, you are a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
Seb Vettel summed it up
There's
perfectly.
just some emotional bond with that team because they had one of the worst seasons in 2020.
Yeah.
But even in 2020, if they approached a top driver, he would have said yes.
100%,
And that's the
bro.
thing, right? Leclerc represents Ferrari, clumsy, but again, legacy. I think they're made for each other.
You're
In
very
terms of
anti-Leclerc, bro. I
I'm not
feel like,
anti-Leclerc. I'm not anti-Leclerc. He's quite a good driver, but again,
He's pro science.
Soumil,
He's
are you
more
the-
pro
pro
science?
science? Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
the
yeah.
second child? So that's why you're anti-Leclerc.
I'm the only child. I'm the second child.
But man, you got to feel for. I mean, Mercedes as well. Huge loss, but at the end of the day, who's that kid in F2 right now?
Don't
Antonelli.
talk about it.
Antonelli.
Don't
Kimi
talk about it.
Antonelli.
Leave
Is
the
he-
kid alone, man. Seriously.
Is he a prospect to get into F1 anytime soon?
So-
Because I know he jumped F3 to F2.
Yes, and again, remember he's only 17 odd years old. Something. I mean, for the life of him, I don't think he'll be able to approach a girl and be like, "Hey, I love you." He's that young. So imagine him competing and working with the Formula One team and their team principals. That's hard. So leave the kid alone. Again, the way to judge this is listen to what the mechanics are saying. If they feel that a guy can drive in any condition whatsoever, and they know because they've worked with everyone who's come on top, they know he's going to be good. But again, a big part of it is the mind. And at that stage, the mind isn't tested enough. So he might have the technical skills and the know-how, but can he work out the mind? Which, by the way, was, again, in my opinion, what has not worked out for Leclerc. The pressure handling situation. Every single mechanic at that time said, "Oh, this guy's going to be special." But has he got what it takes in the last critical moment? That's what makes you a world champion? That's what gets Lewis 7 world championships. That's where it was missing.
So that's what Formula One is about. Sometimes you're really thrown into the deep end, and then they really see how well if you can swim or not. Because Lewis Hamilton's a classic case of this. Your rookie year, you're in a top car along with Fernando Alonso. And look at the way he came out of it. So that kind of already made his legacy that this is a top flight driver. Then you have the likes of Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen.
First year and he beats Lando Norris in a couple of races.
I was going to say Oscar Piastri is maybe one of the biggest surprises coming out of the 2023 season. And McLaren has had this whole resurgence.
Cutting you in this. Again, a lot of controversy behind Oscar Piastri's arrival in Formula One because he was, I don't know if it was Formula Renault, but he's won 3 championships back to back: Formula Renault, Formula 3, Formula 2 in the rookie season.
He's good.
And then he spent a year on the sidelines. And he was in a very controversial manner. He was snapped up by McLaren. The whole fiasco. So there was a lot of eyeballs on this guy in itself. And then the team was struggling. But then when they managed to get it back, he was on it.
He was on fire, bro.
He was
really.
on it. And he was... We've discussed this a lot. He's a very calm, composed sort of a person. And I don't know... Virat Kohli is a very flamboyant player, sure, but for some reason I like the very calm demeanor of an MS Dhoni, and that's why I kind of like how Oscar Piastri is able to compose himself. And
you kind of have to show that in those final laps of like, can you keep it together? You know what I mean? Even George Russell, I think, was it Singapore, where he was in a really good position? He just like kind of crashed out onto the side.
Precisely. And that is where Max took a step up in 2021. Max used to make those same mistakes. Same as Leclerc, same as your Norris, same as your Russell. But then the guy took a step up, and that's what makes him so good. Really? And wait, let's talk about controversial opinions, right? We're on that subject as well. I feel this year, by the end of the season, Oscar Piastri will start to beat Lando Norris. McLaren need a driver who can win the biggest trophy of the weekend, not break it. And that driver has to be mentally tough in the key moments.
You don't think Lando is that guy, though?
Qatar qualifying 2023. What happened there?
I think it also happened in Abu Dhabi as well. He had the chance to take pole, Lando, and he
exactly. So many starts in 2023.
Russia 20.
That is more of a judgment thing because
a judgment call also.
And again, the driver has to trust their instinct at that time. So
but it's good. It's good to see multiple drivers doing well in multiple teams. That is kind of the issue that Formula One is facing right now.
Yeah.
Where Red Bull is so far ahead of everyone. They're not even in this conversation right now. Like we're talking about 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place, where Max is
in the drivers' championship.
Championship. Yes. Max is pretty much untouchable for the last season. Do you think that hurt F1 a little bit? Because I'm telling you, I got bored watching
business went down last year.
Business
went down last year. I remember we used to have 110 odd people coming to our first screenings, and then again, same level of marketing, same everything, and only 40 people come up because they know that Max is going to win. He can't help it. Can't help it. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's
but that hurts the sport to be so dominant.
No, but I think it came into scrutiny a lot more last year because, I mean, first of all, Red Bull won 21 races out of 22. But if you
So
see...
that's a crazy.
No, but if
shit
you
right
look
there,
at the history of the sport, there have always been phases where a team or a driver win so much and they're so dominant. And, I mean, every team has some Achilles heel, I feel. So... Mercedes has a problem with their car. Ferrari have a problem with their strategy or pit stops or tire degradation. There's multiple
management to the clumsy
This-
drivers.
yeah.
You can go on and on.
For Aston Martin, it was development, but
Yeah.
for Red Bull, I think their biggest weak point is the driver in this in the second seat.
Yeah.
No matter what Verstappen does, so I definitely feel Verstappen's going to be winning the drivers' championship,
Oh, for sure, dude.
Bingo.
Yeah.
but I think there's opportunity for taking the constructors title.
Really?
And
Wow.
yes,
Okay.
because last year the performance gap was quite wide between Red Bull and the other teams. They were struggling a lot, at least in the first half. So Red Bull managed to take that advantage, but it was also Verstappen.
Yeah.
Verstappen had enough points
Sure,
on
sure,
his
sure.
own to win the constructors title, but this year
Which teams do you think are creeping up this year? to Red
McLaren, Ferrari are
Yeah.
creeping up.
Yeah.
And I think this year's constructors title depends and hinges on how Sergio Perez
Bull? For
performs.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's not consistent, then he's literally opening the door for teams like McLaren
Yeah.
and Ferrari to come in because they have consistent drivers.
Yeah.
You win the constructors title only if you have two
I completely
consistent.
agree. Have you seen that interview with Alex Albon where he tries to describe how good
Yes.
Max is when he describes
Yes.
how
Yeah.
he's like, it's not necessarily that the car is set up for him. It's just that as the season progresses, his key and his mindset for sensitivity is just through the roof, and they can't keep up with that.
And that is what you would love to see from from not just an Alex Albon this year, but from Lando Norris, from Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
And Sainz has done that, by the way. Sainz has done that in every team he's gone to. Put him up against Max, see what happens. Again, that's going to be fun. But these drivers, right?
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, but these next gen of drivers, that's where they're missing. And again, at a point, Max was there too. The reason why Oscar Piastri stands out from the list and why he will be an interesting challenger to bring McLaren up the order in the constructors one is because there are two types of issues you can have as a driver. There's a skill issue, there's a mentality issue. For Lando in the key moments, it seems like mentality. You can tell that he crumbles. But with Oscar, he never crumbles. It's a skill issue. The tires just aren't kept well enough towards the end of the race. And that's something you can learn. The mindset takes time to build up.
Yeah.
Skills, you can still do that. So I think Piastri might be up there. And which is why for Sergio Perez, there's never a skill issue at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the mind. Maybe he needs a break. Maybe he needs 6 months away from the sport or something. And that'll help him out.
Do you think it's possible for Sainz to replace Perez?
Not this year.
Not this year.
Not this
okay.
year.
Next year. I mean, 20.
I think so. He wasn't Sainz in the Red Bull Driver Academy as well.
Yeah.
He was, yeah. I think they're
awesome.
But like there seems to be like a lack of competitiveness among these young drivers as well. Like they just, I don't know, they're all buddies with each other. Do you think that helped? Like, do you think that hurts a little bit, like when competing against each other? Because Max is like, fuck all you guys, I'm trying to win.
No.
And Lando and George and Charles, and they're taking
So-
selfies together and they're chilling and hanging out together.
Again, the thing is-
there's no like killer instinct on the track anymore. It seems like Max is just like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna drive, and everyone else is just kind of driving.
It's not it's documented too well these days because the drivers, they used to chill in the past as well, except they used to smoke, they used to drink, they used to hang out with women, go out partying, drive at 300 on an illegal road or something like that. Just that those stories get lost into an autobiography 20 years down the line.
Sure.
So I don't think it's that, but it's that they're not given the platform to. The cars are sometimes so far away from each other in the race that we don't get to see it. Put them again each other in qualifying. Like there's a beautiful clip that got viral. Russell and Lando Norris talking about the Belgian GP qualifying 2021, where Lando Norris crashed. And even though Norris crashed and he said he was supporting Russell, you could see the competitiveness in the way he was speaking that, hey, that lap could have been mine. So that killer instinct is there. It's just that the cars are not close enough.
So speaking of that, right, in 2020, the regulations were supposed to change. Obviously, it changed to 2021. That was supposed to make racing really close. I remember in the first season in 2022, I was like, wow, these cars are super, super close. And then obviously throughout the season, Max dominated or whatever. There is an engine change coming up in 2025, I believe. 2026. And Red Bull is now going with Ford instead of Honda. How do you think that's going to play out? Do you think it's going to matter too much, or do you think they'll
it's just
keep that?
packaging, right?
It's only packaging.
It's not any change at all.
See, it's very difficult to kind of preempt who's going to win 2026 because I think it's going to be everyone's going to start from scratch.
Clean slate.
Yeah, it's a clean slate. You cannot figure if it's going to be a Ferrari or Mercedes, if an Audi is going to turn up and they're going to be competitive. So that's what usually happens when regulations change. It's anyone's game.
Yeah.
And who understands the regulations best, who's able to find the right loopholes and carry that forward, that's the team that has the initial advantage. And that's usually what happens. So for teams won the first season of the regulations, they have a little bit of a lead over the others, and the others take a little bit of time to
That
catch
seems
up.
to be Adrian Newey in most situations.
So
when the regulations changed whenever they changed,
2022,
Sebastian Vettel dominated the first half of that. Now when the regulations changed, Max seems to have been dominating the first half of this. You have to believe that there is something in that dude that just
He's good.
speaks, something aerodynamically speaks to him. You know what I mean? So it's hard to see that changing.
It's for me, because I know a lot of people speak about Red Bull's success all being attributed to Adrian Newey, but people are kind of missing the finer details of a team winning a race or even a championship. Because if you say, for example, in a cricket match, if you're out there in the middle, what you do is down to you and your partner over there. But winning a race comes to so many aspects, your team, your pit stop, having the right setup for the race. So it's a lot more than what we see in front of us. So apart from Adrian Newey, it's what the team does in the pit stops, how they set up the car, and how the driver adapts to it as well. So there's so many layers that we don't give this thing to credit to.
It helps to have him for sure, but
definitely.
He's one of, and let's put it this way, he's one of just 1,000 employees in a team. So even though he might have the greatest say, it's always and that's what Otmar Safnauer revealed on our podcast, that these technical decisions are not taken by one person. The technical director will have a say, your Adrian Newey will have a say, your driver will also be a part of the discussion if it's a Max, and he's going to be staying with you for the next 5 years. So even they'll have a say on how do you want the car to be like. And so Newey might just end up giving ideas, but it's the entire team who decides. And fuck, what an employee to have, huh?
No, classic.
No, for sure, bro. I think that's what Lewis Hamilton will bring to Ferrari, which is a driver that they actually want to listen to.
But there's
They're not gonna
also
listen
a
to
catch at
Sainz
that,
or
right?
Leclerc.
But there's also a catch. Egos.
Sure.
And let's be honest, it's Ferrari. They will have an ego. They have had an ego in the
Always.
past.
Yeah,
if you can kick
yeah.
Alan Prost out because he said the car is a truck, which it was, there is quite clearly an ego issue over there, which is also well earned, I'd say, because you're working for Ferrari and getting there is so hard. But let's put it this way. Will Ferrari support Hamilton's off-track campaigns? They've committed money to it, but again, Black Lives Matter. Will Ferrari as a brand want to be involved? They're Ferrari. Will they want to have a say? Again, things like diversity programs. Will Ferrari, from a country that's known to be, again, I'm not saying Italy is, but there are reports of them, and even when you watch Italian football, you see so many reports of racist incidents happening. Will people, hardcore Italians, accept someone at that level? Just saying, I don't know if that's going to happen
It's
or not.
very un-Ferrari like.
Yeah, it's really.
What we know
I would agree with you,
about the team, it's very un-Ferrari like, and that's why I think it caught me by surprise at least, this whole Hamilton to Ferrari, because last couple of years there were a lot of rumors that he's moving, and we've kind of brushed it aside saying this is not happening. But this year when it seemed that it is going to happen, and we're like, wow,
In
this
6 hours.
is
In
really
6
happening.
hours.
The reports came out and then they were confirmed.
Exactly.
Immediately,
But to this, then tell me one thing. Why did this announcement come so soon? Generally, they announce new drivers, new contracts, maybe like a couple of months before the season's going to start, or maybe towards the end of the previous season. This is more than a year in advance.
I think that's when they signed them.
That's when they signed
Like
him.
that's when
might
they
as
signed
well.
him. They weren't gonna sit on it. If you get a chance at Hamilton now,
I mean, the
you're gonna
chances
go
of
for it
leaks
now.
also, and then might as well be
Exactly.
the one who announced
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And
I think it's a good move for the sport.
The whole-
It's gonna shake things up.
The
Right?
thing is that it
gonna
puts
shake-
the whole of next season, like, people are so much more excited for 2025 than 2024 now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Hamilton having nothing to lose in a Mercedes, he's just going to drive free. I think that's also a beautiful thing. I think we're going to have some fun races regardless. He's not the type of guy to quit on a team that's been with him for 7, 8, 9 plus years. I don't think he is that type of driver. Speaking of shaking things up though, Porsche and Audi have entered the conversation. I don't think Porsche has confirmed.
Porsche got kicked out of the conversation
kicked out of the
very
conversation.
quickly.
With Red Bull,
But
right?
there is going to be
Everyone, with everyone.
there is going to be a new constructor in the league.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
So wait, what's their name going to be? Audi. wait. Audi kicks Stake F1 team Sauber, because the Stake team has such a horrible name. Like Audi will literally kick Stake and Sauber together, but it's going to be Audi, right?
Do you know about the team names this year?
It's
by the way?
horrible.
It's horrible. The Alpha Tauri is
Sauber
a
is a steak.
V-carb.
So
What's a
So
V-carb?
the two interesting names are Stake Formula One team, Kick Sauber.
Which they literally have done.
Stake and Kick are the sponsors' names, and which they've literally done. And the other team had former names like Toro Rosso, which means
Incredible.
Red Bull in Italian, then Alpha Tauri, and now they're going with Visa Cash App RBF1
Fuck
team.
off.
And you know what the RB is?
Are you serious?
Racing Bulls.
Racing Bulls.
Racing
It's
Bulls.
not
Red Bull?
There's no way.
No. They have
They
said
can't.
you have to call us RB.
RB, not even racing.
It's like
Wow.
subliminally saying Red Bull.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're just like, we need money, guys.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
pay us,
This is
please,
like-
and gamble
Yeah.
on our app. That's literally all it is.
We
right?
can't.
Yeah, this is like reminding me of like Rajnigandha presents
Yes.
film fairs.
Yes. The
That's
Pan
so
Bahar
wild.
Test
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
Oh, incredible.
How are the commentators gonna handle it? How are they
It's
gonna?
gonna be-
wow, the Cash App V12 and we're like, what the fuck are they gonna say?
That's what
dude?
they do in the US, where in the middle of every single break, you get. So you're watching breaks, right? In the US,
Yeah.
you turn up to watch breaks and then you get some racing in the middle. And that's what they do. Oh, the M&M car is passing the Budweiser car at the Geico hairpin. And so, like, come on, give me something. But it's too commercial now. It's
It is way too
too
commercial.
commercial
bro. I
now.
think that
fair enough, but legacy needs to be maintained in some way. And all the teams are black now. Like, in terms of the liveries, it's all just carbon
I
black.
was gonna say I was
Something.
I was like, what's happening over here, bro? Big Ferrari guy over here.
No, but
I-
actually, yeah.
It
sorry.
should have some fun racing. Go ahead. Arun.
Actually, that was one of my questions.
Question?
The colors of all the cars. You know, usually like earlier when you see that top shot, you can tell like, oh yeah, Renault, yellow, pink,
Yeah.
Force India. But now it's not that.
It's all
Because
carbon.
If you see the-
why
more
is
carbon,
that,
more
though?
carbon.
If you look at the Alpine team,
Weight saving.
the
Paint is heavy, right?
Paint.
That's kind of crazy, bro. They're putting it all into like the aerodynamics
Performance.
and the
Performance of the
that's
And
wild.
normally it wouldn't be a problem, but the regulations changed so dramatically in 2022 that most of the cars were overweight. So
Yeah.
they've been gradually scaling it back
Sure,
down.
sure.
But some people have suggested a good idea. Give a paint allowance because
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
commercial sport at the end of the day, right? It needs to be
Want it to look
recognizable.
sexy as
So
fuck, yeah.
yeah, so
You guys have seen the new Red Bull car. It
Yeah.
looks drastically different from
in, in,
car
in,
right
in
now.
terms of paint scheme, no.
No, not in terms of paint scheme. In terms of like just the design, I feel like it's very different. So what are they reinventing? Is it a gamble for them, or are they just improving on what they already had?
I don't know what they're up to because right now what we've seen is only renders and you've only seen a show car which happens at the launch. You really get to see what happens, which direction the team's going in pre-season testing and in the first race. So this could be something where they're trying to distract everyone else. It seems that they've gone the Mercedes route of having no side pods.
Yes.
If there is someone who can actually make this work, it's probably Adrian Newey. So that's going to be one of the interesting aspects of this year to see if Red Bull goes for that concept. But it looks good, but I don't think it's going to really massively hinder them in any way.
Yeah.
Because they are such an efficient and a well-oiled team that it's going to be very difficult for them to drop from first on the grid to second, third.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So I think they have. I mean, take for example last year when they had a penalty in terms of
6
wind
months of
time.
no wind tunnel testing.
Yes.
Like
They went
yes.
past the budget cap and they were how much was it? They had a short percentage
It was
deduction.
$300,000 spent on catering, not bad.
That deduction in wind tunnel time didn't hamper them in any way. They've had the most
sure.
dominant
Dominant
F1
season.
season.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if they can get past that, I don't think so. Making small changes. in
Yeah. How
aero
do you
is
guys
gonna be
feel about that?
difficult.
Because now more and more in sports, it seems like offensive stats have taken over, right? So like in F1, just by the sheer number of races, you have the most opportunity to win the most races in a
Yeah.
season. Because the drivers were driving how many races back in the day, like 18 maybe, and now they have 23.
The first season at 7.
Exactly,
yeah.
right. So they keep increasing that threshold. Do you guys think that these records really matter anymore, or is it just going to get shadowed? Because dude, Max, he beat the all-time season record. He beat the most
Everything.
consecutive win record. He beat like, the highest winning percentage.
Hey, someone has studied
of all
their
time.
F1 stats.
So like, what do these things mean anything anymore? Is he just fucking crushing them, dude?
So from a stats perspective, I will admit that stats in F1 are not that meaningful as compared to other sports because because
This is our reel. This is our clip.
no, because if you look at cricket, for example, you can actually crunch it down to the numbers and see how a person plays in certain situations. There was a very classic example of statistical proof of how Dinesh Karthik is a brilliant player if he comes after over 14.
Yes,
And
I've
there
read
is
about that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
If he comes before that, probably around over 10 or 11, in the 11th over, he probably takes a little bit of time and to really get into his mode. But you bring him after over 14 or 15, and that's the best when you can extract out
insane.
of him.
Wow.
So you can really crunch it down to numbers. But like you said, for example, you have more races,
Yeah.
and it really depends on the car so much
Yeah.
that you can kind of make something out of
It's a little
stats.
diluted as well. Right?
Yeah, but you need a lot more context
Yeah.
in F1.
Sure.
Classic example, Fernando Alonso has not won a race in the last 11 years. He's not taken pole position for the last 12 years, but still he's considered a top driver. So if anyone's come into the sport in the last couple of years, they're like, why do you keep speaking about this guy so much?
Yeah.
So it's not as much about the numbers, but numbers kind of do convey a couple of things.
That's where we come in.
Yeah, that's where I come
Exactly. That is where you guys come in. You guys
Yeah.
provide the context to the season, right?
Exactly.
I just hope that this next season has some really good races, man. Because honestly, sometimes when I was watching F1, I wasn't even focusing. Max was like running away with it. We were talking about 5th, 6th, 7th.
My
in the
friend,
battle
can I
for
introduce
that.
you to MotoGP? Supercross.
Oh, dude, shout out Jai, my roommate in college. He made me watch a lot of MotoGP, especially
Crazy,
when
no?
Valentino Rossi was retiring. I think we watched that whole season together.
Which one? Which
Fantastic. It was
season?
great. You know the season
must
where
be-
Valentino Rossi was
Okay, the one that he retired.
retiring.
Yeah.
Fuck, is great, man. I love watching that shit, bro.
2021.
They should do like a Drive to Survive on MotoGP if they haven't already.
They have. But the thing is, it gets diluted because every sport has one now.
Have you guys seen? That is true. Have you guys seen the Braun documentary? I haven't seen it.
I
But
saw
I've
it.
We
heard it's
interviewed the guy who
absolutely
actually made the
fantastic.
Braun
That's
documentary.
so
It's
sick, dude.
insane. Daryl
Yeah.
Goodrich. What a guest he was, dude.
What a concept, right? He bought
Yeah.
the team for like £1 pound. Or
Did you watch the whole
something like that.
series?
I haven't seen anything, but
You
I've
guys
heard
should
that
definitely
it's
watch
fantastic.
it. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Should
like
watch
the
it.
Drive to Survive, but about that moment in time.
No,
crazy.
it's a brilliant series. I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes
Yeah.
at most.
Yeah.
But it really, because that's the sort of series that I expected from Drive to
Yeah.
Survive.
Yes.
You really
Yeah,
want it
yeah,
to be
yeah.
behind the scenes,
Yeah.
get all the top people to speak about what really happened, which doesn't come to the fore. DTS did that in the starting, but then it's kind of got.
It's
It's become an obligation now.
They're very like
PC.
careful about what they say and how they present
Politically correct.
and like how they
Okay,
present
okay,
themselves.
interesting.
Right?
I'm gonna shamelessly copy that.
I don't know why did I think of Priyanka Chopra.
That's PC with a C.
You don't wanna- Okay, but guys, let's get into your controversial opinions. We'll start with you, and let's keep it non-F1
Yeah,
related. Let's have some fun with it. You know?
You know, we've been stressing about this for the last couple of days.
Don't think about anything Formula One related. Just give me your most controversial personal opinion. How about that?
You know, you've really put me into the spot in this because I've been spending the last couple of
I know. I thought
days.
so, yeah.
So what it basically did is I put down 6 points in my notepad, my controversial opinions, but then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get arrested for this. I'm going to get cancelled for this.
Same.
Definitely getting arrested for this. So I'm not going to go down the route of saying Virat Kohli is not one of the top 50 players. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to say chai is overrated, although it is. But
Just dropping heat on the pod right now, bro. I'm not going to say that I
disclaimer, I'm kidding. But I've had to do a little bit of thinking about this.
soul searching, yeah.
Yes, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I think to a certain extent people might get a little serious. But I feel that deep down, majority of people are very... What's the right word for...
You gotta be careful with this
Gadhe.
one, man.
Gode.
What's... hypocrisy?
Hypocritical?
Like
Hypocritical,
people are,
yes.
People are very hypocritical. Yeah, sure.
People are very hypocritical and delusional, but they don't really accept it. I don't know why we can tend to portray this on social media or on at least in the digital world that you should follow a very idealistic way to life. Because I know the person who says you haven't followed the traffic rules, that's why you had an accident, is the same person who's going to have a helmet around his elbow and ride a bike.
Yeah.
Or the person who says this is fatherless behavior, he's going to be a person who's drunk one day and vomiting somewhere.
What even
So-
is fatherless
Yeah,
behavior?
wait, I've never
don't
heard this
get
phrase.
it.
This is fatherless behavior.
Oh, you get it a lot on Reddit. Like it's
You know what?
It's like the motocross drivers, right? Fatherless behavior.
it's more like you have the coolest dad behavior. That's the kind of stuff it is. If your dad takes you to motocross, that's a good dad. But no, you were saying.
Yeah, but I feel people tend to portray themselves in a very different way. When I feel it's okay to be a little flawed, it's okay to make mistakes, and
Yeah.
people tend to say I'm aisa hu, I'm very disciplined, but
yeah.
in
Do you
real
think
life,
social media kind of perpetuates that.
Yeah, and that's something you can
lifestyle.
curate.
Yeah.
And I mean, even for me, for example,
Yeah.
in my personal life, I'm not as much of an extrovert as I sometimes have to show on social media because that's what the platform demands. The people want to know more about you. If I didn't have to do video, I would not do video.
Yeah.
But I have to do video because that's how you build a community and people are interested in your life. But these are the demands of social media as well, and there's a lot of trolling that comes with it as well. And for me personally, sometimes it's very difficult to bear that, because I know if I've put a good piece of content, there'll be 30 people who say this is great work, but then there'll be one person who says this is fuck all, and I'll be like,
always though, right?
Very Bangalorean accent with that.
Dard, because this happened in my recent reel. So I put out a reel about this whole Hamilton moving to Ferrari. I did the whole thing, and in my whole editing process, I literally watched the video 100 times to ensure there are no mistakes. And in the comments, people are speaking about my pronunciation of Charles Leclerc. I did not realize that. I apparently went on saying Leclerc. Supposedly,
I think people are gonna hate on any piece
anything.
of content, no matter
People hate on anything. And the fact is that...
But that's such a silly thing to hate on.
But that's the thing. So even if there's a minute long of a reel that provides valuable information, you're just waiting these days for a little slip up, and then you put that in the comments.
But let me ask you, do you read your comments in the hope of constructive feedback, like constructive criticism?
It's very important, because ultimately if the audience does not like what you do, then you shift gears and
but I guess then you have to have that filtered out mindset of like, okay, this dude's obviously just trolling me. This had nothing to do with it.
It's difficult, but then that also kind of makes you realize that you can't please everyone. A piece of content is not for everyone. There is an audience for you, and not everyone's going to follow you. People are going to disagree with a lot of things, but that's life. And this is the thing on Twitter. People do not like disagreements. I've never seen two people come together and say, you like a Hamilton, I like an Alonso, both are great drivers, fine, let's walk away in peace. No, I will shove it down your throat as to why Lewis Hamilton is the greatest of all time. I think people can have different opinions and still be okay with it, but...
it just comes down to it's easier to hate than to appreciate.
Yeah, but no, even for example, I've seen a lot of your controversial opinions as well. Someone saying Vada Pav was trash, and
That one blew up, huh?
that one blew up. The other one about Cristiano Ronaldo not being amongst the top 50 famous drivers, footballers in the world.
Episode, man.
I don't feel we need to argue. Like, take a number.
Yeah, but people on, like, I think we've spoken about this on the pod as well. It's like the hate is always louder than the love you receive. It's just about filtering that process out, you know. But yeah, let's make the world a better place and stop trolling on IG, guys. Come on, what are you doing? And what about you, Soumil?
It's a really stupid
This
one.
is something I have to relax with. I know this.
That's what we're here for, bro.
He's given me a slight preview of it, so I'm gonna relax, and I have to. It has to die. I have to digest.
So it's it's interesting how it works out, but I don't get how. And again, 90% of my male friends, after we're drunk, we talk about the most random stuff in the world. So imagine this. Not even when we're drunk, by the way. Even when we're sober. We talk about the most random stuff. Like if there's a digger doing its thing with like those jackhammer type things on the top of a digger, but they're just digging into a big rock.
Okay.
And if you're watching it for 10 minutes, which is what guys do, by the way, you get so emotionally invested into the strategy that they're going to be taking. Like, hey, ye left se dalega, upar se dalega, right se nahi, andar scoop karke dalega.
You're right.
And all the women in our group, I don't know why they don't find it interesting. It's just an observation. They're like, why do you want to talk about that? Why do you want to talk about a UFC fighter getting a blow to their head and then getting actually progressively easier to knock out, which is what we were talking about 5 minutes ago. These sort of weird, wacky, stupid things. I don't understand why only, at least this might be my circle only, but why only the guys want to talk about it? Like, why don't we talk about truck wale ki bagar kitni?
I think women.
That's the most fun thing we ever talk about. Like, how much does a truck wala earn? And how do you load? And imagine this hypothetical scenario, right? This is what often happens with our friends, and we might be weird, so be it. We sit down, we discuss, and randomly, like, if you have a certain piece of load to load onto your truck, how on earth do you do it?
Well,
and
it
we
depends on the
critically
load then, I guess, right? Yeah.
see. So imagine, right? If you've got hay bales. And so suppose you've got to take, and this is something again, we're going to be diving right into it because that's the kind of people we are. We take 3 motorbikes and parts, and then you've also got to load upon fluids onto a very small truck. How do you load it? So suppose it's the size of this room. How do you load that on?
Are they all separate? Are they all separate parts?
See, you're diving deep into it, right? Yeah. Won't you spend 30 minutes analyzing how you exactly load it onto a truck?
Yeah.
I feel like it's necessary. I agree with you. Yeah.
Even though it might be 6 o'clock in the evening or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when your bro calls you, like, bro, how would you do that? We men, for some reason, always discuss wacky shit like this.
It's usually the men who are watching a JCB
We do. Dude, the other day at a shoot, we had a 15-minute break because the digger was doing its thing. Yeah. We were literally so emotionally invested. We were analyzing, would this guy break this rock? And he was trying so hard. We were trying to understand, would he break it from the side, left, right? And then he gave up for a second, re-strategized. We thought, okay, he's going to come up with something fun. And the fucker dug it up from the left side and scooped it up. Like, wasn't that's the kind of...
It is, but I will say something for the women out there, bro. I speak to Ariana a lot, and she does the same thing. It's just in different contexts. I feel like you're talking about something very tangible, but literally how you asked me, how would you load this up? Ariana has asked me that exact same question, but just given me a different scenario. So I think for men and women, it's very different.
Tell me more.
They will dive into maybe social situations and social interactions more in their mind, and we would focus on like how to break a rock. They would focus on how to kind of get around a certain situation or dive into that. I think they still have that.
We don't think as much about, for some reason, again, I don't know why it works out.
I think it's different priorities as well. Like Ariana, you can speak to this more, right? You have many thoughts about this.
I agree. Yeah. I think I fully agree with you that I would not care about loading bikes on a truck. That's random.
Or maybe how a mongoose would actually kill a chicken and where would he enter from, because we did that one day for 3
snake
years.
as well.
Dude,
have you seen the video of the snake and the mongoose in the snake
Dude, it's
hole?
crazy. A mongoose is a boss until he has someone with hands show up in front of him. It's amazing. Really? So a mongoose can kill what? Chickens? Snakes? Easy. A man shows up in front of a mongoose and he's weak.
Well, I mean, top of the food chain. Shout out fucking humanity, bro.
So if you're playing top trumps with a mongoose, have hands. That's all.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, you were saying.
How interesting. No. That's
Take it away,
so
Ariana.
interesting.
Whenever you say something she doesn't like, she's like, miss that.
Wacky shit proves the point.
But please continue, Ariana.
No, I fully agree with you. So, yeah, girls don't care about this, I think. Most girls, I should say, wouldn't care about
I'm really
this.
curious to know why. Like, again, I've spoken to all my friends and
what are women interested in? Please tell me.
He needs to know that. He definitely needs to know that.
No, but I've spoken to all my female friends and they say, I just don't care. But like, why? Why do you not care? Like,
I just don't think it's a priority. They care about different, I think they care more about like social stuff. Like,
should I say? Should I say what I care about as a woman?
Let me tell you what women care about.
No, but I think I agree with what Jahangir said, is that I think we also have deep conversations about like things that don't matter, but it's like different things. Like once I had a deep conversation about like if my building was a girl or a guy.
Bro, I've had that. It's
right?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's
What? Had that? What?
Like what does
Ariana and I actually spent 20 minutes discussing whether our building was a girl or a guy.
What?
She's
Yeah.
right.
Like,
So, one
what does it identify as? You know, like, is it giving more female energy or more male energy?
Like,
This
So
has never
what's the
come
name?
across
Is
my
it-
mind.
is the name Ram Vilas or something of that sort? Because then that's clearly a guy,
That's
right?
hot.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's not. It's like a street name.
What's it called?
I don't want to reveal.
dox ourselves on the internet right now.
I don't want to reveal
We'll tell you later.
for the
We'll tell you
fans.
later.
Okay.
We have the conversation. But basically, like, those are the kind of conversations that I would love to have.
It's fun, no?
Yeah, it's so fun.
But I think maybe more women in your life need to speak about more interesting things. I feel because they do
Also-
have interests.
No, I think it's just like
You're just trashing on all the women that they don't speak interesting things.
No, I'm saying because I speak to Ariana all the time, and I'm saying she thinks about things the same way, just different topics. So I think that interest and that ability to dive in and dissect and analyze, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's just two completely different.
Yeah.
Maybe we should workshop
We meant
different
just do random
topics.
shit. Like,
Soumil.
yeah.
Right?
Should workshop different topics maybe.
No, it's strange because we naturally. You're saying?
I was going to say a topic that I think about a lot that is very relevant to this conversation is, do you think that F1 drivers ever think about like having sex in the car?
In the car?
Yeah, like
Again,
do you
that's
think like
physically
do you think like
You gotta do it
You
though.
could-
hey, is it physically impossible?
It's impossible.
On the car, next to the car.
Not that I'd like to try to find out.
Around the
It's
car. Like I would think that. Or do you think there's like love things that happen, like two mechanics, like one female mechanic and one guy mechanic?
Oh, it
and
gets
they fall
creepy,
in
dude.
love?
You don't want to know the stories. Just read
I
some of
wanna
the
know.
mechanics and their autobiographies, and you will.
There's mechanics
Really?
autobiographies out there.
Stop. That's
I've not read
amazing.
this.
So Mark Priestley, his autobiography is brilliant. The kind of stuff that drunk mechanics do on a test. If you bring a woman into the occasion, of course, nowadays it's a lot different. It's a lot more respectful, the working environment. But if in the 90s or the early 2000s, you had a female into that sort of work environment, buddy, that would be uncomfortable as hell. The kind of stuff they do, the kind of
I don't think that's
What
what,
do they
Ariana
do?
had in mind.
No,
to be
what do
honest
they
with
do? Tell us.
trashing rental cars completely, puking on random strangers out in a foreign country, losing your debit and credit cards and smashing people up because you think they have them, stuff like that sort of stuff.
way.
So that was in
wild,
the
bro.
early 2000s
Yeah.
because when you're in F1 at that time, you have a hot head, right? Because you've made it and everyone else, according to you, are not a part of your bubble and you feel, oh, they're not worthy enough or anything. So that sort of stuff.
Also, it's like at the end of the day, it is a garage, right? It's a garage. There's
Yes.
mechanics. It's that very like testosterone-filled environment.
It's of course getting much better now.
It is getting much better, but back in the day.
Back in the day. But to answer your question, I think, dude, wouldn't it be pokey as shit, like having all those wings and all that there? Like, where do you... Because a rear wing... So, because a rear wing... Because if you touch the rear wing, you get a 50,000 euro fine. So that's out of it. Front wing, I think, is 100,000 because that's what we discussed once. The FIA will say that. But if you shut the garage and do it, I think ideally... Not a Red Bull because it has no side ports. That's ideally the best place to be.
Adrian Newey knows
But
when
I'm
his
thinking,
mechanics are going to get
I'm thinking,
up to, right?
I'm Lewis Hamilton. I'm making like 100 million a year. What is 100K?
Bro,
You
where
know what
do
I mean?
No, that's if the FIA sees you. If you're Lewis Hamilton, you can shut the shutter down. But where? How would you? Because like physically, if you imagine, right, there is no place where you can literally.
Do it.
Yeah.
Don't shatter her dreams now.
No, but I'm just saying. No,
having-
but
So the
these are
front wing of
things
the
to
car,
analyze.
the front wing of the car would be ideal, but now they're becoming too slim, so your back would probably hurt if you lie down on it, like and put your legs up. And also there's also
the
suspension.
pursues are fucking.
But like,
And also suspensions, right? Because they're so into it, you can't stand
Suspensions,
possibly.
that's-
So it's a
That's
bit
so-
hard.
So these are the things that.
These are the things that-
These are the different things people talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
This
yeah.
unites us. It's,
It unites us. It unites us.
I have a question for you
Yes.
because this is something that really comes across my mind when I'm eating at a restaurant. I'm always wondering how much does this guy earn?
Yeah.
oh, that
People think about that
generally,
too?
yeah.
Oh,
Okay, Sid, why don't you give these boys our end of season predictions?
Yeah. So I'd send both of you all a list
Yes.
of basic.
Let's open it up.
Which I forgot at home. Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm
I'll
just
bring it
gonna
up.
read it out, just basic stuff.
So the season starts, I think, in a day or two from when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
So let's make our predictions for 2024. Starting with a simple, easy one. I don't think I should even ask you this question, but winning driver.
Max Verstappen.
Sure.
Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
winning
doubt.
constructor.
Actually, on Max,
Okay.
because if we have a second, hate him as much as you like, but this is one interesting point that Kunal brought out on the podcast as well. How many of us can say that every single day that we wake up, we deliver at 100% of our excellence? That's unbelievable. So
Insane.
Max
I
is...
think in any sport at any level, Max is like the best of the best right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to find another sport where someone is this dominant.
yeah.
And when you try to sort of, again, apply that in your own life, that's when you respect Max a lot more. So crazy,
No,
dude.
I
That guy
think
is
in
something else.
Formula One, people don't respect these drivers who've had a dominant phase.
Because it's just the car, right?
Yeah, because it's very easy to put it out saying that it's just the car. If
Yeah.
I was sitting in that car, I would be doing it.
Sure.
But it's a lot more than that. So
Sure.
we don't want to get into that, but there's a lot more things to consider.
Definitely.
And it's a lot more easier to
And
thrash.
also, whatever keeps him consistent, man. Who the fuck are you to have a problem with him being with Kali PK? Like, go mind your business. It might be Nelson PK's daughter, but who cares? Like, if that's what makes Max consistent, go be it.
bombs. Okay.
So what do you guys think about the constructors for next year? Who's taking that?
Red Bull. Oh, I know he has a different take, but I still think Red Bull.
I think
yeah.
just to be different, I would say Mercedes.
Oh,
I would
if they are as consistent.
weren't they
down the
fourth
stretch.
in the episode that we recorded? No.
Yeah. So I think it might be Red Bull for very obvious reasons, but I would like to think it could be McLaren
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
okay.
cool. That's cool.
because they ended the second part
did
of
end
last
strong.
year
Yeah,
very
for sure.
and both drivers, like I said, are very consistent. If they get their shit right, I think they could actually challenge. They just have to take out Sergio Perez. That's all they
What's
have
the
to
next
do.
question, sir?
The next one is the
Hey,
standout.
wait. You guys didn't give your predictions. What the hell?
Well, I would say Red Bull also. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Safe option.
Safe option.
I think just to be different and like spice it up, I would say
Alpine.
Williams.
no.
Please say
I'd
Alpine.
I
I've
would
been
say,
waiting for that forever.
Should I say Alpine?
Green.
Oh, Aston.
Yes.
Sure, I'll say Aston Martin. But I will say rooting for Alpine this year because they have some amazing investors,
No, yeah, that's.
some famous investors.
You know what? I so appreciate that you brought that up. You're the first person in any
only
F1 conversation who've done. No, seriously, dude.
Okay.
Because they've got great investors, but how many managers do they have now? How many? So
Have they gone through?
they have gone through everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone.
They have
So,
gone through
so
everyone.
they change managers like Chelsea changes managers.
Yeah.
as well,
Really.
right? If that's the right way of putting it.
Yes, but again, yeah, I think Chelsea would be a good way to sum up
is.
Alpine
It
at this
actually
moment.
is, yeah.
But at least Chelsea have Disasi who could at least stop them from losing to Man City. I don't know what Alpine has. It's weird.
No, but you're the only person who has a lot of hope in Alpine this year. I don't know why.
I don't. I lost mine 8 years ago.
See what Ryan Reynolds did with that Wrexham football team.
To be fair,
So,
he has
like-
no influence, but yeah.
Yeah, much less influence. It's
Yeah,
more
with
like-
But I would
Wrexham-
say
He's
like
gotten people to care for Exim, which is something.
Yeah,
people are
that's
not
that's
doing on-
incredible what he's done
Which
there.
is something also.
I think they had a documentary as well.
They had a
Yeah.
Wait, are
Bro,
those Sunny
what a
boys
story.
included in this?
No.
Wow.
McElhenney is not in the Alpine deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
boo.
He's with Wrexham, but not
What
Alpine.
a
But
crazy
they're in
story,
tier 3.
dude.
Wrexham is in tier 3 or
So
tier
they're
2?
in EFL League 2 as of now,
EFL
which
League
is
tier
basically
three, right?
Premier League Championship, League
even
1,
lower.
League 2, 4th tier.
yeah.
So they were in non-league football where you don't earn anything, and even there they were earning millions through their commercial contracts,
Exactly.
which is
They-
incredible.
That's crazy.
So I think they bought the team for like $2 million or something.
Not cheap.
So cheap. And they've like 10x that. Because of the show and because of like everything that
They've
they've
done
done.
well.
So
They
they've
have done
killed
well,
it.
yeah.
Like they're marketing
would-
geniuses. So like
I would love to see. I mean, if this really comes out well, I would really love to see Alpine at the front.
It's Alpine,
Yeah.
bro.
Really love to see
They-
that.
they'll
They
go
will be at the
through-
front of social media and
Yeah,
stuff. I feel
yeah.
like the recognition they get is gonna be crazy off the charts, man.
Again,
But not on the track.
It's difficult.
that's the
on track.
problem, right? If you're not winning, it's hard to make people care about if you've got Anthony
Yeah.
Joshua in the back.
I actually have something to say about that because I think like look at Daniel Ricciardo, okay? He hasn't won a race or like really performed that well in so long, but he's such a like darling of F1.
At least
Like
he's got
everyone,
character, yeah.
exactly,
He's got
everyone
character, yeah.
loves him, and I think like marketing is such a big part of F1, and like having people who
Yes.
like love
No, it's
you.
at the core of F1.
Exactly. So like I just feel like, you know, when Daniel wasn't in the thing, they were like, okay, yeah, but still have him as like a reserve driver,
Yeah.
you know, still like get him in,
Yeah.
like keep him in the
So you're
fold
saying
so
if there
people
was
are
no Drive to
interested.
Survive, Daniel would not even be in F1 right now. That's
Yeah.
I agree with you actually.
I think people just love him so much because of who he is
Yeah.
that they just want to keep him around. I love Daniel, and I would say I'm only interested in F1 to just see where he is, you know. I just like
Fair
look at like
enough, yeah.
Ricardo.
So you prefer Daniel over Charles Leclerc?
Yeah, 100. I love
Really?
Daniel. I also love Carlos and poor Carlos. But anyway, but what I'm saying is that Alpine, with this like amazing investors that they have, and like maybe Taylor Swift will come for a Grand Prix and like be like on Alpine's like garage or whatever.
All right, the next one. It is standout rookie. I know there's no rookie driver this season, but just a standout young driver.
Oscar Piastri beats Lando Norris by the end of the year.
I think
Maybe at the
that's a
start,
solid
maybe
take
at the
as well.
start he'll end up losing to Lando, but when he understands the tire management, Piastri will beat Norris.
Let me throw in Alex Albon. No,
My answer.
He's not young anymore, dude.
I think Alex Albon
not
is out of
young
the equation
anymore.
of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
young driver, I would say.
He's
No. He
Yeah.
is quite young.
He's young, but he's
But
not
how do-
like in the rookie class anymore.
So
you know?
I mean, for me, number one would obviously be Oscar Piastri, and number two would be Alex Albon.
Okay.
And by the way, interesting callback. Ravi Shastri mentioned this about Oscar Piastri when he was not having good results. He said, even though he's not having good results, I like this kid. I like the mentality. And that's what's actually making him shine these days.
Yeah.
So that's a good call, coach to coach. So you
you
can
do
say,
a good Ravi Shastri impression, man.
do I?
We can get more into those in your surprises, Sid, I think. In your surprises of the season.
Which is my next prediction, which is the wildest prediction of the season, and just go nuts with this one.
I think Piastri wins a race before Lando Norris. I want to go a little bit more bold. I have a feeling, sorry, Hamilton fans, I don't think so he's winning a race this year.
Same, yeah.
Ooh.
Well,
Yeah, I think your first one was bolder because I think
Yeah?
I would say I wasn't expecting Hamilton to win a race this season also.
No, because I mean the teams have closed up to a certain extent, and sometimes it's not going to be a repeat of last year for sure. Verstappen might have a mechanical DNF at some point of time. Something might work. There'll be a little bit of more luck involved, so it's possible, but I don't see that happening. But I definitely think Piastri could win a race before Norris.
Nice. Soumil?
I think Mercedes could be forced into hiring Fernando Alonso.
Yes! I'm celebrating shit.
That's wild, bro.
Why
I like
not?
That. Yeah, I like that.
Why
I
not?
like that.
I mean,
Wow.
that would be.
But does he want to spend his, let's be honest, last years in a developing team?
Fernando wants to drive a car, man. Give him a
He
fast
wants
car, he'll
to
do it.
drive
Yeah,
a
he's
fast
just-
car. He
yeah.
doesn't know.
Why
So they
He's
replace a
very-
40-year-old with a 40
Well, if he's
year-old
driving up to
whatever.
Hey, he's a
driving
young
up to the
driver and
standard,
only
bro.
he's only a young driver with his 5th Formula
That
1
was my
season.
answer. I forgot.
Yeah.
That was my rookie answer.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso.
He's just come back for
He's
his,
just come back. Yeah. Young driver.
He's re-repeated.
Never leave your notes at home.
That's fine.
I love how binary he is. I either don't want to drive or I want to drive. I don't care where, how,
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
Give me
yeah,
a car,
yeah.
I'll race.
Yeah,
He'll go to the Dakar Rally and win that as well and all that stuff. It's,
All right,
it's
so
crazy.
last two things. I had asked for 3 things, but let me say the one thing that you're most excited about 2024.
McLaren.
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 I'm most excited to see the field close up. I really want to see the field close up. I feel like if F1 has another season like it did in 2023, it's going to be horrible for the sport because, dude, they have the eyeballs. Now they just got to capitalize on it. And I feel like they should do that this year.
And again, this year, you'll see McLaren do much better because a wind tunnel is ready. And there's no direct correlation. But when Otmar Safnauer, the former boss of Alpine and Force India, was on our show, he explained how this works out. So you must have been wondering, right? Why is Alpine or why is not Aston Martin winning in the first couple of years of the budget cap now that they're spending the same amount? So it comes down to capital expenditure and people. Often the best people are at the best teams before the budget cap, so it takes time to hire them back. Aston Martin has done that well. Alpine to a certain degree and all the other
upgrading
teams as
facilities
well.
and everything.
And upgrading facilities as well. And now eventually it takes 1 or 2 years until they really make an impact on your car. That has happened for McLaren now. That has happened for Aston Martin as well now. So watch out for those two. They'll really progress faster. But Aston Martin need 2 drivers, not 1. So that's the...
There's just one other point I want to make
that's a
because
catch.
so you said upgrading facilities. So Mercedes over the last couple of years have been shit in pit stops. This
Yeah.
has not come to the fore.
Yeah.
People have been shitting on Ferrari more.
Yeah.
They're spending all their energy doing that. But Mercedes has been really shit in pit stops in the last couple of years. A lot of the pit stops are 3.5 seconds when teams like McLaren are doing sub 2 seconds. And I think I came across an article where Toto Wolff said that we don't have the sort of budget to upgrade our equipment.
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that also contributes. So you really need to have the best infrastructure, best facilities, and also people who are practicing enough to get that sort of perfection. So these very minute things really matter.
Sure.
And on that, I think one of my bold predictions could be that by the end of the year, that is when Aston Martin finally realize the lifetime contract of Lance Stroll has to be terminated. No, seriously. Because then when the team starts to perform and then it starts to hurt you in the constructors, that's when you go, he might be my son, but come on, get out of the way, man. Give me the...
I don't think that's gonna. I don't think they're gonna kick him out.
But
at all.
shareholders, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, maybe he'll pull out before he leaves.
It'll be like Osborne, right? Osborne in Spider-Man. Was it not?
Yeah.
So, could be.
All right, and lastly, the one thing that you're concerned about or like not looking forward to or worried for in this.
Look at our eyes. Look at how dark the circles are. We need less races, dude.
Oh,
Seriously.
you're worried about yourself.
Yeah, man. Seriously, we need less races.
The
It's-
calendar's too long.
Yeah.
It's just way too long, and it's possible that it gets even longer. 25th races and so on. I am most concerned about one driver retiring this year. I think it could happen because it could happen if so it's about Fernando Alonso. I have a feeling this is his last year in terms of contract with Aston Martin. If he does not get that Mercedes seat, if he does not see Aston Martin not going to do well, and if he feels he's really lost love with the sport, so it's possible he might retire. So
I think he's gonna hold.
Yeah.
He's gonna hold off for the Mercedes seat, and if he doesn't get that, I would agree with you actually that there's no scope.
There's no
because
other-
because
there's no
then
other-
the regulations change only in 2026.
Yeah.
So he's already 42, 43. So that means can he be competitive when he's 45? So that's one thing that I'm most concerned about.
I think track limits is also a concern. Like beyond a point. I know I'm sounding very nerdy
No,
with this
I
again,
get
but
it because they are penalizing a lot for track limits.
yeah, 1,100 potential investigations in Austria is stupid. No, but the point is, every year we walk into a season not knowing black or white what is the rule.
Yeah.
You can't have it every year, man. That's it's a bit silly beyond a point. So, and there will be Austria. There will be couple of other races where we will point out the same issue again for the 8th consecutive year. But again, that's a concern.
No, for sure.
I was just going to say silly season is also here, no? Like 14 drivers are losing their
Yes.
contracts. So like that's
be
going to be
fun.
heavy for you guys.
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be fun.
think
It's going to be fun, but it's going to be like lots of long nights.
It would have been boring if not for the Hamilton to Ferrari switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
the first
Now it's
domino
gonna set
falling.
off. Like everyone's gonna take chances.
So there's a lot of open seats available. Mercedes, maybe Red Bull. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to follow through this.
Is that it for your question?
So yeah, that's the end. That's the end of the prediction. So let's see how the season turns out. Yeah.
I'm very excited because Sid said he didn't want you guys to bring an empty shelf item. because he wanted to bring an empty shelf item.
Let's go.
I wonder what that is, man.
It's a bit of a slight to our guest, but it's okay.
I want to see.
Don't mind that.
I want to see what your empty shelf item is.
So we are like 2 days away from the first race, which is the Bahrain Grand Prix. Earlier last year, in December, I was in Bahrain and I went to the F1 circuit. Fantastic experience. Loved it. Like, it was so much fun to see the media room, the paddocks, just go on the track. Fun story, we also got a chance to go for a run on the circuit.
What?
So once in a month, they open up the circuit for people to come and
Yeah.
just work out and cycle and run and do
No
whatever.
way.
Unfortunately, we were there on those dates. So I did a lap of the circuit, like on the circuit, which is
5
insane.
kilometers of the
And
track.
at night, so all the lights on. It was a lot of fun.
Nicely done.
So fantastic experience. I know you're there.
I'm there. I'm there
for
in
the
the
race weekend, so I'm sure it's going to be insane, and love to know more how that went. What I wanted to add to the circuit and F1 has done a lot for Bahrain, just in general tourism and just getting it on the map, and so much so that their currency
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Has
for
a circuit.
real?
It has-
currency
Circuit
has a fucking circuit on the back of it.
Show me.
That's pretty cool, man.
It's insane.
We've got
Like,
to show the camera first because
Yeah.
they've got to know. But
so that's a half.
that's the
pound.
drag strip part, right? That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to do what Aman does every time. Wow, Sid didn't bring an empty shelf item today. Shout out Aman, man.
Wait,
Check this out.
That's a half dinar, right?
It's a half dinar. Mostly to see half on a currency note is
insane.
odd. I've not seen half on a note anywhere.
Yeah, 1 by 2.
That's pretty cool, man. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And yeah,
bad.
Thank you, Sid.
it's insane to
That's-
have the circuit on the note.
That's brilliant.
That's $110.
It's $110. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah, right by Lewis because he's
Lewis's ball spot.
I don't know if you can call it sport, but yeah.
But I think that was a fitting addition to the
Yeah.
wall from this episode.
Yeah,
And,
man. This has been great, guys. Thank you
yeah.
so much for coming back on.
Thank you.
We're gonna
Thank you for
have you
calling
guys
us.
on soon. I hope all of our predictions come well. Let's look forward to a exciting 2024 season, man.
we're gonna have all your socials, Inside Line F1 podcast, Soumil Arora, F1 Stats Guru. I am Soumil Arora. F1
I am Soumil.
Anything you
Same
want to
thing.
say to the guys before we end off?
support these guys seriously because we've been having so much fun watching the way it's kind of funny because when you come back to the same place after a year, it's interesting how things change and how big you guys have become now as well. Your first event and stuff, and it's interesting. I'm not sure if you guys know, but you've kind of become the part of the cultural fabric of people around the age of 18 to 30 odd. Where,
That's nice.
where I'm not even kidding you. A couple of people really referred to us as, "Hey, I saw you on the HST show," and normally they'd say that. I expected that to happen when people would have seen me in MotoGP or Supercross or something like that. But they recognize you
What the
guys.
fuck is HSC, bro? What are you talking about?
But that's the fun part. You guys have become
That's
a part of
sick,
the
man.
cultural fabric of, at least in Mumbai, of the 18 to 30 odd age
And
group.
we
So it's-
honestly
it's crazy
consider
how
you
it's
guys a part of the HST family as well. If there's an F1 topic to be discussed, you guys are the people to go to, right?
you.
So thank you so much for coming, man. This
Thanks
was
for calling us, man.
fantastic.
Oopsie. That's a
See
big
you
shout.
guys next time.
Cheaper by the dozen. Hate 'em or you love 'em. If you make me feel away, then I might switch up for your cousin. Keep one in the dark and I'll keep 10 more in the oven. If we wanna stop, we can try. It's cheaper by